Hello, how are you? Welcome back. I should say welcome back to me because it has been one hot minute since I've done one of these videos. And this is going to be the first time that I'm interviewing somebody, a very good friend of mine who is incredibly accomplished. So it's a little longer than usual, but somebody that I admire immensely. And as a reminder to sort of just jump back into this series no matter where I am. So I hope this brings something to you. I had a great time and hope to see you soon. Here we go. Welcome to What's Shakin' Billy G, a podcast that has not gone out for a few weeks. Hello, everybody. It's good to see you again. I would love to introduce my very good friend and author of The Summit Within. I love this book and I'm so excited to share it. So this is 100-Day Journey as a gift to yourself. Sushma, would you mind introducing your book and what it is?
Yes. Hi, Billy. Thanks for having me. And I wanted to do this for a long time. So thank you for making this happen and glad to talk to you about my book. So I have it like right here. So this is a 100-day goal or a 100-day journal where you come up with a goal and just write about the goal, because you need to be accountable and honest as well, right? So if you have set a goal um, and then you want to accomplish it, so this books would keep you honest every day. So because morning you put a brain dump into it, figure out like what needs to be done, how do you achieve the goal, what are other things that's distracting you from the goal, and evening when you put down your thoughts again, it is just bringing a closure to, yeah, I have achieved it. It makes you feel good as well. And why 100 days? Because science tells us that it takes like 90 days to pick up a new habit or a goal. And like, let's say if it's for 6 months or for 1 year, it's too long. You know, there's so much constant distractions, so many changes in our lives that happen. With everything that's happening, I think 100 days for me has been pretty realistic, because consistently every quarter or every quarter to like 100 days, I've been able to pick up a new goal and stick with it. And this is my, I would say it's been tried and tested by me, especially like, you know, with my hikes or with my pageant that I've been to or any other thing I want to do. This keeps me honest and accountable, Billy.
I really love that. And the way that people used to think about getting old is like sort of getting stuck and getting brittle. And there's even that saying, like, you can't teach an old dog new tricks. But the more we find out about neuroplasticity and making sure to sort of exercise that part in the brain around you aren't too old. And in fact, the more that you challenge yourself and the more that you're sort of thinking differently and the more that you're always learning and trying to become your best self, or even just getting what you want out of life. Like one of the things that I sort of struggle with in terms of like meditation and meditation paths, and ambition and how those two things can be sort of counterproductive is the thought of what it means to yourself if you tell yourself that you have to change. And like, there's like a secret little message in there of like, does that mean I'm not good enough?
Yeah.
Versus going, well, you are good enough and you are sort of perfect the way you are. And it's, I don't know, like, what do you think about that? Because you're somebody who's done some incredible things. Like, how has going through this journey impacted your version of yourself versus what you're getting out of your life?
Actually, that's a good question. Very good question. Because 20s and 30s is so different for all of us, right? You're exploring life, you're, like finding your partner or having kids or family, career, all of that.
Yeah.
And during this process, you're kind of lost. So once you're like entering into your 40s, you're like trying to find out who you are, because you've already done a few things. Um, maybe that's, it's bringing you happiness, but not joy. There's like a difference between happiness and joy.
Mm,
And I think that probably like 40s is where you would realize, yeah, okay, there's career, there's husband, okay, all this is working out, but what have I done for myself? And I feel, at least from women from Indian origin, or like most of the women I talk to, they have this constant struggle of like a second identity.
mm,
Hey, like what do I do out of like my life right now? Who am I? Because I've been a wife, I've been like an engineer, I've been like a mom, I've been a friend, but who am I to myself? And
mm,
that's where I feel your like search for like your inner journey begins, where
mhm,
you're just trying to discover. Maybe it's not applicable to all. Maybe some people are happy what they're doing, and I'm actually excited for them, but there are women who are lost, who are like, oh, like where do I fit into this bigger equation? And you start asking these questions, and then slowly you try to probably try out a few things. And like things that give you like joy are the things probably that would translate into goals. For me, like summiting or any other thing didn't happen overnight. You try out a few things, like it's just like probably like a small trail I took, I enjoyed, or probably a small run for a half a mile that I've really enjoyed. And then you're like, I'm really enjoying this. I'm really like feeling happy about it. So why don't I probably extend it a little more, a miler hike, a 2 miler hike.
yeah.
And then that's how you build your vision, and you try to, and sometimes you get lost as well. And that's why like I have this book where, yeah, like the first week goes well. And then sometimes you're like, is this working? Is this not working? There's too many things going on. So you write it down. So for me, writing always helps because it clears like all your chaos that's going on in your mind. So writing gives you a clarity as well. That probably did answer your question, but am I good enough? That question comes up like probably everywhere. And
Yeah.
I would say it took me a while too, I think, just to realize that it's you who need to be happy. It's like you need to be in the center of the thing, saying, okay, if this thing makes me happy, I think it doesn't matter am I good enough or not, because this is giving me joy and this is what I want to do. And like I get a lot of questions on, oh, how are you able to do so many things? Is it affecting your family? Or like how are you able to take time? We are not able to take time. But that's the thing, right? It's the priority. So you have to also talk to the people who care, saying that, hey, this is something I want to do it for myself, because if I'm happy, the family is happy. So
Now, you said a word. You just like slipped it in there and then kept on going. You said something about my summiting. Um, you have hiked to a number of mountain summits recently. Can you share where you've been and what that's been like?
oh my God, this topic always makes me exciting, and this gives me like probably the highest happiness ever. So I was never a hiker. I was not even into like fitness and all of this. And I think something changed in COVID. Like I think you're all like there, and then you're not like commuting. Suddenly you're shut down, and I think I'm like, as I talk to different people, right? A lot of life transformations happened during COVID, and that's because we got an opportunity to slow down. That was very important. I was not slowing down at all, and we were just caught up with life and all of that. And then once you slow down, you're like, okay, who am I? What do I like? What can I do? And out of that came hiking for me.
Mm,
And the first there were a couple of like local trails here and there I took, and then I was like, yeah, I think this is a validation to my fitness. It's making me better in every way, because as you hike, you're also fit, your health is also improving, you're eating the right things, you're taking the nutrients, all of that. The first thing I did was actually summit Mount Whitney. That's the highest in the 48 contiguous uh, United States. And that actually pushed me to go and try out like higher altitude mountains. It was hard. Like I would say the first step was hard because it's just physically, yeah, you have to train, but mentally you have to train too. And that's where like I talk about like this journal where this mental training is also required. It's not like, yeah, you're physically fit, you can do it, because it needs a lot of patience, resilience, and um, just like keeping that goal in mind, right? Yeah, you like you have to train constantly for the 3 4 times a week, every week, leading to the summit. And then you have to be determined, right? No matter what happens, what changes, you still have to do it. Obviously there's also like family support that's needed too, because now they need to believe in the goal, because you're sharing the goal with them as well. You need to make them excited as well. So that's how I started my journey into hiking. So Whitney opened up a lot of for me confidence, saying that yeah, I can summit. And then I did as soon as I come back, I did the Everest base camp. And then I did a couple of 14ers in Colorado. And then recently I did Kilimanjaro. And that's where this book was born, because I've tried and tested what works, and I wanted to share the same thing with like everybody. Hey, I think this is doable. It's just that you need to clear your mind and put your thoughts. And as I said, right, it's just not physical. It also needs that mental training as well. And I hope my journal um, gets somebody there, like building that mental resilience as well, because you're accountable to yourself at the end of the day
Yeah.
for your goal.
I love that. Okay, so then here's the question that I have, because I think that once you get into this book, and it is really lovely. So sorry guys for selling it a little bit, but if you open it, and it's available on Amazon.
It is,
So the
yes.
link is in the description below. It's really simple, and it brings in like my really happy 6-year-old of like just a daily workshop with check boxes and beautiful quotes every day. It has a really, really nice quote. But I think the thing that I have trouble with, but also I'm finding like the other thing that you said, I think that was really meaningful is like as we get older, your sense of self, like there is something about your sense of self that matures. And there's something like, whereas I always felt like I was serving other people and I was working to make them happy, and I was really watching what words I was saying and maybe not speaking up or speaking about something that mattered to me, or I was making like a big life decision that I thought would making somebody else happy instead of being honest about what I wanted and why I might want that. So I suppose in advance of like starting this sort of journey, um, and you talked about it a little bit of just like trying things out, but how do you get to a good goal that deserves 100 days of your investment?
Yeah, that's a good question. Um, you know, for me, I had to try it out. I didn't know like what the goal was, and you really need to, like something that you're doing, and that becomes your goal. It may be like something like a scarcity or like a skill you want to improve, and it
Mm-hmm.
has to come from within. And that's why I said it's summit within, because you need to one thing that's happening especially in social media is you get carried away by what other people are doing,
Yeah.
and that's going to influence you, and you're like you seem lost or to the competition, or it's just the social media stuff that's going on that makes you like sometimes like uneasy as well. Hey, am I doing something with my life? But maybe I was caught up in that as well once, but then um, that's where I think like I was actually I'm going to change the gears a little bit, because this is a good story that would come back to your question. So yesterday my daughter started writing this book. Like she picked up and said, Mom, I know, like you've published this book, but I've never like used it. But now that, like looking into it, I just took a brief read, and I think I might be able to use it, just because there are too many things going on, and I want to note it down. And actually, yesterday I was almost like, it felt like the purpose I wrote the book for was fulfilled, because my daughter, who's only 14, right? I mean, she's a teenager. She didn't have to do this. She's like, and now I found like a new market to it, where like probably teenage girls would, it's a good mental resilience to have, writing down everything,
Yeah.
right? The reason I say this is, as you're evolving into, like a mature woman like us, we we are lost. So it's just, and just coming back to the goal itself, I would say, like, whatever gives you like joy, you need to try it out. A couple of things, it might work, it might not work, but it needs to come from within. It's that inner voice that says, yeah, Sushma or Billy, yes, you can do it. This is like really exciting. And it it's ultimately, it's like something in Indian called Ananda is like a Sanskrit term called bliss. So
Mm.
it's about like, happiness, or like all of that. It's just, you feeling really happy and good about yourself, right? That's how, like, once you achieve like something that you really wanted for, I
Hmm.
think that's the state you would end up in.
Yeah.
And yeah, it might be different, like goals may be different. I actually want to understand, Billy, like, how do you think about, like, how do we set a goal? Like, this is my thinking process. I'm like, I'm going to try out a few things and probably stick with it, that something gives me joy, and then
Mm.
probably then become goal oriented and make sure that, I try to follow up and achieve that. But how about you? Like, how do you deal with that?
It's interesting because for my daily life, I feel like other people make the goals, and my purpose at work, like the place where my occupation is great. Let me help you execute on that. Let me organize your thoughts and structures and everything else. So I think that's a very interesting parallel,
Yeah.
because in this space, and even if you get into Myers-Briggs, I'm like that helper type. I'm very much like get my fulfillment out of, I love helping people figure out their path and their journey. But one of the downsides of that is I don't really focus on myself. And it, part of those sacrifices have been, I will get sick, and I will get like chronic illnesses. Um, I will not pay attention to my own thoughts, and I'll spend time sort of actively listening and being there for other people. And then all of a sudden, I'm like, I don't know how to express myself. I don't know how to speak my mind about something that's important to me. Like, how do I find those words? Um, and when it comes to goals, they're fleeting. They're very much like, I want to play ukulele, or I want to get down to this goal weight, or I want to do this, or I want to make my own potions and lotions for like, using my, like making my own homemade things, or I want to garden. And they will come and they will go. Um, and I think really because either it's the germ of something fresh, like I'm a starter as well. Like when it comes to my life, I love starting things up and then they don't get finished. Like me. Um, and the other thing is, uh, again, it's a question of, I get so invested in what somebody else is excited about,
Yeah.
is sometimes I get a little bit stuck of getting so enthusiastic about supporting somebody else that I don't really recognize, like, wait a minute, that's their dream. It's not mine, but I could be super excited for them. Um,
Billy, actually, this is amazing, because I was reading something about empath and empathy.
yeah,
Not a lot of people have that.
yeah,
And you getting excited about somebody else's goal or purpose. I think that's wonderful. For me, I wish a lot more people are like that. The world would be a much better place, like
Mhm.
honestly.
Yeah.
It's that kind of empathy that you need in, because for me, like what I was saying is thinking about yourself, but what you're saying is like a much bigger, greater thought on how do you help others? How do you find joy in helping others?
Yeah.
That is such a wonderful thought. And, honestly, I would say, like, don't like take so okay, if you're not able to achieve a goal, that's fine. I think you're just
Mhm.
discovering the process. You don't maybe it dropped it. For me, it's also excusing yourself. It is okay. I mean, like, if you pick it up and not do it or come, that is okay, maybe. But what you said, like, it's going to stick with me. It's like that empathy of helping people. That's so genuine and kind. Not a lot of people have that.
Oh, thank you for saying that. There are two places recently where I have been able to create a goal and stuck with them. And it's really, really big. So the first one is I've always been carrying more weight than my body wanted. And a lot of that feedback came externally,
Hmm.
and I really fought against it. So from the time I was maybe like really a tween, I was always several sizes, if not more. And so over the course of the past 5 years, um, I am now down 120 pounds from my highest weight. And I am, for the very first time, within maybe 10 or 15 pounds of my goal weight. And so far into it and hoping that, not hoping is the wrong word, but I see the future where I'm starting to have conversations with plastic surgeons about removing excess skin, because
Hmm.
I'm almost half the size I was at my highest weight. So that was
Wow, congratulations.
really big one. And
Yes. And
then
how do you feel now? How do you feel about your body, the weight management, the process?
sometimes it doesn't feel real. Sometimes I don't, like, I can look at myself and not see any changes. Like, I will look in the mirror or I'll see myself. Like, if I pull out a picture of when I was close to 300 pounds, I could be like, oh, yeah, I do look different. But there are times, like, especially like through the journey, if I look at those pictures, I'm like, well, I can still see the shape of me is the same. And
Mhm.
especially with excess skin, it feels expandable. Um, and so there's still, like, talk about that mental process of, sometimes I feel quite in the present, and other times I feel like my brain hasn't caught up to where I am.
Mm.
There's another part of this, which is how am I how am I flowing through this? Because I don't think the process ever ends of taking care of yourself and learning how to live in your body. Um, and so there's another part of this, like, well, I'm not done. It's just transforming. So what is that next phase looking like? So there's that.
Uh-huh.
And then the other thing that's happened is in the past few years, I'm within 5, maybe 10 years of retirement, and I realized I didn't have a financial plan of what does not having a day job look like, and how am I going to be able to afford the rest of my life? And so 8 months ago, I started capturing a budget and understanding my money, finding all of my accounts from like the time I was in college and all those bits and pieces and consolidating all of them and getting them caught up with my married name and like all of that stuff.
Yeah. Oh,
And then
wow. We should do a whole podcast where I'm going to ask you questions very soon on the financial management, because women in general, I think we can improve on our like financial planning,
so
investments, all of
true.
that.
And
So I'd love
so
to learn more.
I've learned how to invest, and I am learning how to answer the question, when can I retire?
Awesome. Wow.
And that's so big because that picture is so personal. It sounds like, money and boring and accounts and finances, but it's not. It's about what is the life you want,
Yeah.
and how can you set yourself up so that when you're not in your career and money earning years, you can do what you want when you still have your health. And even more than that, I've been talking to my coach, who will be on this channel sometime soon. She's wonderful. Um, who also talks through, like, when you move into retirement, what is the life where you are, like, what does service look like in a post paycheck world? How does that get you closer to your purpose, where you're not just sitting, receiving, consuming? What is your purpose as an elder in your community, and whatever that looks like? Like, these are really big questions.
Yeah. Oh, wow. Actually, that is very interesting because I think it also relates to that identity, right? Identity and purpose, and how are you going to fit in different phases of the life? This is such a wonderful thought.
Yeah.
And Billy, talk to me about your walks. I love like your podcasts while you're walking and talking. Talk is that like a daily routine that you have, or how does that go?
It was so nice in the spring. It was a daily routine in the spring.
Uh-huh.
And we're in Austin, Texas. It's hot now.
Oh boy.
And
What's
so I've
what's
been
the weather
going
like? What's the weather like today?
scorching.
Oh,
We had flood warnings earlier this week, and there were floods all over Austin area. And
oh.
now we're under a heat advisory.
Mm.
So if I get out, I have to go, and because I'm a mosquito magnet, I have to go with like a shirt up to
Short
here, bug
sleeper.
spray, a hat, long sleeves, jeans, socks tucked into my boots, and then I can garden for like half an hour, and there's still a mosquito that like comes in somewhere, but at least it's not 30 bites. So I haven't been walking as much. I've been gardening. And so since I really haven't been like walking by myself, this channel hasn't really had much love lately. But this
Mm,
is, I'm kicking it off again.
very
But
nice.
but when I go on walks, I think I'm I think I'm looking for my people. And so I
Yes.
imagine I imagine that, like, I'm kind of like top of mind riffing, and just kind of hoping that the stuff that's top of mind is attracting somebody else that it's top of mind. And hopefully we can find each other and sort of amplify each other's goals and provide some support. Like,
Yeah,
it's,
that always happens. You know, you're going to attract like what you think. So maybe it's not happening, but probably you'll find like your people. I'm one of among them.
you are one of
I'm
my people. Yes, you are
like
one of
I
my
love you.
favorites.
Like, you know, it's just so inspiring just to hear you talk, like, you know, the maturity you bring into every conversation. It's very hard. Otherwise, like generally these, at least in these days, the conversation is so superficial. You're
Mm.
like just talking on like a very higher level, high by type, versus like genuinely knowing a person. And that's what I found when I talk to you. You're like, you're genuinely interested.
Yeah.
What are you doing? And you take time to ask those questions as well. So I hope you find your people soon through this channel.
Sushma, thank you so much for coming on here. You were the reason that got me back to, okay, we're recording this podcast. It's gonna get an edit. It's gonna go online. Thank you for helping me get to the goal of continuing this channel, because it's had a little nap. So I am kicking off my Summit Within journey, and I'm gonna use this channel. I've already got my why. I've got my goal. My goal is to create community with this channel and hoping that it becomes its own thing. And I want to see after 100 days what it looks like And so every day I will do a thing. It may not be a video. It might be like, maybe I'll figure out my background lighting. Maybe I'll get my extender pod. I don't know what it's going to be, but it's something every day. I'm going to kick off this journey. And what I would love is to have you back maybe as a midway checkpoint. And then at the end.
Yes, I
And
would love that.
yeah. Okay, cool.
I would totally love that. And I'm actually so honored and glad that, like something that sparked when I was like hiking, right? Like, especially to Kilimanjaro, that I should do something. I should make sure that I'm actually, the serving you were talking about, right?
Mm,
Some kind of journal which would probably also help people like me who are lost. And I'm
yeah.
so glad, you're using this. And there are also like 14 checkpoints as well as you go, just to be accountable. And then a 50-day checkpoint. I would love to come back and see where
Okay.
we are with our goals. So
Yes.
my goal, so for this, so I just started this goal after my summit to um, Kili, is um, I'm actually going into theater now. I've auditioned. I got, yeah, so there are two roles, like two different production companies I'm trying out. So that's my goal. And both of us, probably you're my accountability partner here, in 50 days, we'll come back and see where we are.
I love this. I love this. And I suppose I also want to say to extended community, anybody who wants to join us,
Yes,
um,
please do.
whether
And
it's with the book or whether you just want to sort of explore, like, hey, I've got a goal and I want to be accountable and I want to follow along and I want to track, like, please use the comments here to like connect with us, to um, connect with other people in the same spaces. And then Shushma, in 50 days,
yes,
we're gonna check in.
and we'll be halfway through and we'll be proud of each other.
I'm always proud of you.
Me too, Billy.
All right, my friends.
All
So
right. Nice talking to you, Billy.